The soft hum of the oxygen regulator was a familiar lullaby to Jordan Green, a sound that underscored the profound silence of the underwater world. Below the surface, the chaos of life faded, replaced by an ethereal ballet of light and shadow, coral and current. This was her sanctuary, and increasingly, it was becoming one for others. Jordan, with her sun-kissed skin, eyes the clear turquoise of a shallow reef, and hair perpetually salty, wasn't just a diver. She was a pioneer. Her venture, Aquacom, was an audacious experiment born from a simple yet powerful conviction. What if the ocean, with its boundless tranquility, could heal the invisible wounds of war? She'd started Aquacom 3 years ago, fueled by a small inheritance and an unshakable belief. A marine biologist by training, Jordan had spent years observing the soothing power of the ocean on herself. After volunteering at a local veterans hospital, hearing their stories of sleepless nights, crippling anxiety, and the suffocating weight of trauma, a spark had ignited. She saw the parallel between the veterans' need for a safe, controlled environment and the immersive, isolating yet grounding nature of diving. The challenge was immense. Skepticism from traditional therapists, funding hurdles, and the sheer logistics of introducing vulnerable individuals to a potentially intimidating new environment. But Jordan persevered, driven by a quiet, fierce determination. Her facility, a modest converted boathouse on a secluded patch of Florida coastline, was deceptively simple. Inside, state-of-the-art equipment mingled with comfortable, home-like spaces. Outside, a private bay opened into waters teeming with docile marine life and vibrant coral formations, all carefully selected for their calming effect. This was where the healing began. Her first veterans were a mixed group, some wary, some desperate, all bearing the indelible marks of service. Among them were Harold and Nicole. Harold, a Vietnam veteran, was the embodiment of the term haunted. His eyes held a distant, tormented look, his shoulders slumped as if carrying an unbearable weight. He rarely spoke above a whisper, often flinching at sudden noises, and suffered from severe night terrors that left him perpetually exhausted. His daughter, desperate to see a flicker of the man her father once was, had practically dragged him to Aquacom. Nicole, a sergeant who had served 2 tours in Iraq, presented a different kind of wound. Her hypervigilance was almost palpable. Her gaze constantly swept her surroundings, assessing threats. She was sharp, intelligent, but deeply guarded, trusting no one easily. She volunteered for Aquacom more out of a sense of duty, to try something than genuine hope. Her PTSD manifested as an ever-present, low-grade hum of anxiety and an inability to connect emotionally. Jordan approached them both with the same gentle patience that characterized her every move underwater. Her initial sessions weren't about diving, but about acclimatization, breathing exercises, practiced on dry land, focusing on the slow, deliberate rhythm that diving would demand, explanations of the equipment, allowing them to touch, feel, and understand each component until the mask and regulator didn't feel like confines but extensions of themselves. Harold was the most challenging initially. The idea of being submerged, of restricted air, triggered profound claustrophobia and panic. "I can't, Jordan," he'd rasped, his eyes wide with fear during their first pool session. "It feels like being trapped." Jordan sat beside him at the edge of the shallow end, her voice a calm balm. "It's okay, Harold. We're not going to rush anything. This isn't about pushing you. It's about finding a different kind of space. Not trapped, but suspended. Free." She guided his hand to his chest, feeling his rapid heartbeat. "Focus on this, Harold. Feel your breath. In, hold, out. Just like the ocean's tide." Slowly, painstakingly, with Jordan often holding his hand, Harold began to put his face in the water, then his head, then eventually, his whole body in the shallow end. The first time he managed a full minute submerged, a faint tremor of awe, not fear, crossed his face. Nicole, conversely, took to the physical act of diving with an almost military precision. Her body remembered commands, followed instructions. She was competent, efficient, but her mind remained a fortress. Underwater, she moved with practiced ease, but her eyes, visible through her mask, still scanned, still searched for the invisible enemy. Her first few dives were silent, solitary affairs, Jordan always nearby, observing, offering subtle prompts. Jordan's therapy was multi-layered. Beyond the mechanics of diving, she focused on controlled breathing, the crucial component of diving, forcing a deliberate inhale and exhale, mirroring the parasympathetic nervous system's activation, calming the fight or flight response. Sensory immersion, the removal of external noise, replaced by the soft gurgle of bubbles and the visual feast of the coral reef. This sensory shift pulled the veterans out of their internal loops of rumination and anchored them firmly in the present. Weightlessness, the ocean's embrace, lifting the burdens of gravity, often mirrored a psychological release. For many, it was the first time in years they felt truly unburdened. Marine life interaction, the gentle, non-judgmental presence of fish, turtles, and rays, a simple wonder that reignited forgotten capacity for awe. As the weeks turned into months, subtle shifts began to occur. Harold's breath became steadier, his movements less rigid. Underwater, he discovered a profound sense of peace. The vast stillness of the ocean was the antithesis of the chaotic, noisy memories that plagued him. He found a strange comfort in the filter of the water, the way it muted the sharp edges of his world. One afternoon, while hovering over a vibrant brain coral, a school of iridescent fish danced around him. Jordan watched as Harold, for the first time, truly relaxed his grip on his BCD. A tear, invisible underwater, tracked down his cheek. Later, exhausted but serene, he told Jordan, "It's quiet, down there, inside and out. I haven't known quiet like that in 50 years. His night terrors lessened, replaced by dreams of floating. Nicole's transformation was more gradual, less visibly dramatic, but equally profound. She initially resisted the soft aspects of the therapy. "What's looking at fish supposed to do, Jordan?" she'd scoffed after a session. But Jordan simply encouraged her to observe, without judgment. Slowly, Nicole started to notice the intricate patterns of a fan coral, the diligent work of a cleaner shrimp, the curious gaze of a parrotfish. The ocean didn't demand anything from her. It simply existed, beautiful and indifferent, yet incredibly welcoming. She started bringing a small waterproof notepad to scribble notes about the marine life she observed, a flicker of scientific curiosity Jordan had, by design, hoped to ignite. One day, deep underwater, a sudden, unfamiliar shadow passed overhead. A large manta ray, gliding silently. Nicole's initial reaction was a stiffening, a flash of ancient fear. But Jordan, sensing her tension, subtly guided her gaze. Instead of a threat, the manta was a creature of immense grace, its form captivating. Nicole watched, mesmerized, her grip on her dive light easing. When they surfaced, she admitted, "I thought for a second, but then it was just beautiful, like nothing I've ever seen." It was a tiny crack in her armor, a moment where wonder had eclipsed hypervigilance. The program gained traction, word spread through veterans communities, and more individuals sought Jordan's unique therapy. But the journey wasn't without its challenges. One stormy week, relentless winds made diving impossible for days. Harold, now deeply reliant on the ocean's solace, began to regress. His anxiety returned, his sleep fragmented. He became withdrawn, restless. Jordan found him staring blankly at the choppy bay one afternoon, his face etched with despair. "It's just a reminder, Jordan," he mumbled, "that the peace isn't real. It's temporary. The war, it's always there waiting." He was ready to quit, convinced that any progress was an illusion. This was a critical moment. Jordan sat with him, not dismissing his feelings, but validating them. "Harold, the ocean isn't a magic cure," she said gently. "It's a teacher. It teaches us how to breathe, how to be present, how to find stillness even when the surface is turbulent. The goal isn't to erase the past. It's to build a foundation strong enough to live with it, to find moments of peace despite it." She reminded him of his progress, not just the setback. "Remember the first time you stayed underwater for more than a minute? Remember the manta ray Nicole?" Nicole, who had overcome her own initial cynicism, stepped in. "He's right, Harold. The ocean doesn't take away the memories. It gives you a place to put them down for a while. It teaches you how to pick them up again, but with a different grip." Her words, direct and empathetic, resonated. Nicole, who once couldn't trust, was now offering trust and support. Her own healing had given her the strength to help another. The storm eventually broke, and the next day, the ocean was impossibly clear, bathed in the golden light of a renewed sun. Jordan led Harold and Nicole on a deeper dive, to a patch of reef they hadn't explored before. Here, the coral flourished in vibrant, untouched splendor, and schools of fish shimmered like liquid jewels. Harold, initially hesitant, found himself drawn into the beauty, his earlier despair slowly receding. He remembered Jordan's words, Nicole's strength. He focused on his breath, on the sensation of the water, on the kaleidoscope of colors. He felt a surge of gratitude, not just for the ocean's embrace, but for the human connections that pulled him through. He wasn't alone in this vast, silent world. Nicole beside him caught his eye and gave a subtle, encouraging nod. She pointed out a tiny clownfish peeking from its anemone, a small gesture that spoke volumes about her own newfound capacity for simple joy and connection. The ocean, which had once felt like a barrier, was now a bridge. In the months that followed, the impact of Aquacom became undeniable. Harold, no longer haunted, found a quiet dignity. He began volunteering at a local community garden, his hands, once trembling, now coaxing life from the soil. He started sharing his story, not with bitterness, but with a newfound perspective, becoming an unofficial ambassador for Aquacom. He even reconnected with his estranged son, sharing his experiences underwater, finding common ground in the shared wonder of the natural world. Nicole, no longer constantly on guard, enrolled in college, pursuing a degree in marine biology. She became a mentor for new Aquacom participants, sharing her own journey from hardened skepticism to profound appreciation. She discovered that the discipline and resilience she'd honed in the military could be repurposed not for survival, but for growth and connection. She found a new mission, helping others find their own Aquacom. Jordan Green watched her veterans transform, one breath, one dive at a time. Aquacom, once a fragile dream, blossomed into a recognized institution. Funding came in, allowing for expansion, more equipment, more veterans. She hired staff, including some of her former participants, who brought a unique empathy to the program. The ocean, Jordan knew, was a powerful force. It carved coastlines, shaped weather, and sustained life. But more than that, it held an ancient wisdom, a profound capacity to heal. For the veterans of Aquacom, the water was not just a medium for therapy. It was a mirror, reflecting their inner strength, their capacity for peace, and their boundless potential for renewal. Years later, Jordan would still find Harold and Nicole, sometimes together, sometimes separately, by the water's edge. They'd often share a quiet moment, looking out at the endless horizon, their faces calm, their eyes holding not the distant torment of the past, but the serene tranquility of the present. The ocean had not erased their scars, but it had taught them how to carry them, gently, with grace, and with the boundless hope of the deep blue sea. For Jordan, seeing their peace was her greatest reward, a quiet testament to the enduring power of water empathy, and the human spirit. That will be all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. Goodbye.